Hi everyone, welcome to Vent TV. We are filming at Studio Q, previewing the Melbourne Queer Film Festival that's running from March 18th to March 29th, 2009 at ACME Theatre at Federation Square? I'm here with Mark, and today, we're just going to be briefing you guys and talking a little bit about some of the films that we've been able to preview for the Queer Film Festival. Mark got the opportunity earlier today to interview Lisa Daniels, the
director of the festival, and here it is. So Lisa, how long have you been involved with the festival?
Oh, I must be up for long service leave. It's about 11 years, so
Right.
That's, given it's 19, that's over half its life. So
Wow.
hopefully
And
that's a good thing.
yeah, and over that time period, what sort of changes have you seen in terms of, say, quality of films coming through? And
Yeah, definitely. When I started we had about 30 sessions, now we have about 93, 94 I think it is this year. So not only quality but certainly quantity.
Yep.
But with the 30 sessions that we used to have, we'd have maybe 2/3 of that would be fantastic quality. And then you might have a little bit of fill here
a
and there,
little bit of fill-in,
stuff
yeah.
just kind of just padded out a bit.
Yeah.
But we don't get that anymore. Like, we have 152 films in the 2009 Fest, and it's all good quality stuff. Like, we're not having to kind of put in stuff that, just to kind of
fill
bump
in,
up
yeah.
the... So look, we could probably go for 3 or 4 weeks because we get 450 submissions, but we
Yep.
have a lot of pretty ordinary stuff in there. So prefer to keep it smaller, better.
How do you decide on what makes it and what gets cut?
Yeah, it's a good question because it's not always just about quality of filmmaking. Like, obviously it needs to be in focus and it needs to have some kind of queer sensibility. It needs to have a good story and be well written and have sort of good acting in it. But often we find ourselves in an enviable position where we have to actually reject things because they don't actually fit with a particular program. Like you might get like a 30-minute documentary or 40-minute documentary on a particular theme, like, I don't know, lesbian soccer players in Iran, which is really interesting and the sort of thing you want in the festival, but there's absolutely nothing that you can put that with. Like, do you put it with a gay documentary about hustlers in France? No, it's not going to fit.
Okay.
So you kind of hold that over for the following year and you hope that something similarly themed might come up that you can put it with. So it's not always about whether it's a great film, it might be about whether it actually fits in the program and gives it a good balance.
Who decides? Like, how many of there are you? And
there's about
and
9
where do
on
they
the
come
selection
from?
panel, and I head up the selection panel, and there are a variety of sort of film professionals. There's distributors and some filmmakers and people that work in the film industry in some way, shape or form. Very obsessive about film. They love their film. They have to because they meet sort of pretty much every night for 7 months of the year. Sorry, every Monday night for 7 months of the year, and they eat rubbish food and they see a lot of rubbish films. So, but I have the final say for a variety of reasons. And often things come into the office that I see, and I need to make a decision very quickly. So I don't have time to wait until the following Monday before we actually make a decision. Or I might see things on the festival circuit, like if I go to San Francisco, I'll see films there and I'll just sign them up straight away if they're obviously good enough.
If you are a first timer and you do want to submit a movie to the festival, what advice would you give someone on
that's a good question.
Trying to do that?
Yeah, if it's a short film, the key word is short. Like, you get a lot of people that have written a short film and it's a 40-minute film, and that's not really a short film and it's not a feature either, so it makes it very difficult to put it in a shorts package where you actually want 90 minutes of, say, 8 to 10 titles. So the ideal length for a short film is about 10 minutes. I think if you can't say what you want in a short film in more than 10 minutes, there's, you need to tinker with your script or, work with your editor or that sort of thing.
So Lisa, what can we expect from this year's festival?
I think what we try and do, and what we do really well, is to balance out the festival between the bums on seats films that are going to pay so that we can have a film festival next year, and they also pay for the more eclectic documentaries or the more challenging films that we had in the festival that we know we're not going to sell out. We might only get 30 or 40 people to them. But there's a fantastic New Zealand documentary package about basically about the gay hate defence. Like, you know, if a straight man beats to death a gay man, and then he claims that, you know, he was taunted by the gay man, and you know, I can't remember the name of it. It's a homosexual defence law. Right. You know, that sort of stuff. We're not going to sell 300 tickets to that. You know, we might sell 50. But it's a really important session. You know, it's a really interesting session, and it's the sort of session that, you know, I think it's our kind of mission to have those sorts of things in the festival.
Well, those sort of issues are important.
Yeah, very important.
To be out there for people to see. So do you think that there's more of those films coming out?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
and the crowds that are going to those films, is there more of a crowd?
Yeah, I think people are starting to go, well, I'll go to see 6 films, and I'll see a couple of big blockbuster bums on seats, boys with their shirts off films, and then I'll go and see a really interesting documentary about Israel. I'll see a documentary about transgenderism. I'll see a documentary about, you know, something that's Australian, and they kind of, you know, they sort of diversify their selections a bit, which is really inspiring to see.
So for anyone interested in attending the movies or seeing what's on, they can of course go to your website, which is...
It's www.mqff.com.au. We've shortened it this year, it's a shorter website. You can buy tickets on that site, you can see the whole program on that site. We've got this sexy little flip book this year on that site, so there's no excuses not to be able to buy tickets. Or if you want to go into person and get a ticket, you know, across the counter like the old-fashioned people do, you can go to Acme Cinemas or Hares and Hyenas, which have been supporting us for many years.
Fantastic. All right, thanks for chatting to us.
Cheers.
And good luck with
the
festival.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. After the break, we'll come back with your chat with Rowan Spong.
Yep.
Spong. Better get that right. Who was the director for 2 of the documentaries featured in this year's festival. We'll see you after the break.
Welcome back to Studio Q. I'm sitting here with Rowan Spong from, as part of the Melbourne Queer Film Festival. How are you?
Good, yeah, not bad.
Yep.
The press junket continues. It's exciting.
Yeah,
it's
it should
cool.
be exciting.
Yeah, it's work I filmed sort of while I've been away overseas, and it's people had been asking questions about it in emails and stuff, and it was all really top secret, but it's kind of nice to premiere it at home.
So you've got 2 films, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Part of the festival. One is T for Teachers and the other one Queer Science?
Yes, T is for Teacher is a feature-length documentary about 4 different transgendered school teachers who transitioned in American schools.
Yep.
And their very different experiences, and I sort of interview the teachers and their students and some of the parents and the school administrations and lovely conservative Christian right people. And the shorter doc is called Queer Science, and it's about scientists who are currently studying the biological basis for being gay and transgender. And they have these sort of ethically problematic experiments.
We all met at noon. It was the start of a day, a staff development day. There would be no students in the building, just staff, and everybody was required to be there. I remember walking into the building, and it was extremely scary because the faculty and staff were going to meet me for the first time, and I would never have to lie to them again. I would like to.
Well, I was actually hired to go and live in LA and make the science documentary. And there were a lot of hold-ups in sort of the construction of that, and I was sort of basically waiting around, and I sort of said, well, can I make something else while I wait? And that's sort of how it came about. It sort of had to be under the purview of homosexuality or transgenderism, and I'd read online about one of these teachers who had transitioned just in an article, and I thought it was really fascinating, and that I mean, whilst her story was really fascinating, I was curious about how the other people in her life would have related. So, you know, the students, the other teachers, the school administration, and how the media responded. So I kind of started to do a bit of research and found that there was sort of about 10 people who obviously on record had done such a transition. And I narrowed it down to teachers that I knew I'd be able to interview without sort of affecting their life, you know, sort of creating issues at their schools or otherwise. So there were some teachers who've transitioned and have since retired, and then the final story is about a teacher who's currently teaching at the moment. I found that the teachers all had varying different degrees of political stances and political involvement in transgender issues. I found certainly that there were parts of America which were rougher and a lot more sort of unprogressive towards transgender people, and in particular the third story, which is set in Batavia. Batavia is in upstate New York, and it's a very small farming community and very conservative Christian community. I found that, you know, whilst I was there, people weren't particularly happy about me interviewing people about this issue and how the Christian right might be represented or arguably misrepresented. And so at one point in my lovely small motel room in Batavia, I did get some lovely death threats over the phone, and I thought it was really hilarious, and I said something really cheeky to the guy on the phone, and then it wasn't so hilarious the next day when I had to walk down Main Street with my tripod on my back and my camera gear, thinking, you know, well, if this guy's out and about today, here's the Australian filmmaker walking down Main Street.
So how long have you actually been doing filmmaking for? Like,
I've been making films now since I was, 18, so about 10 years, but, you know, student films, and I've done sort of projections for theatre and animations and music videos, and I did this long sort of work which perhaps some of the queer community in Melbourne might have seen, called When Darkness Falls, and that was like a 40s lesbian detective saga. And that was kind of cool. But this is exciting to be in sort of this big festival, and it's been strange because, I mean, I'm doing press for it this week. I'm working part-time, and I'm getting emails and phone calls now from overseas who've noticed it in the festival program, saying, you know, you need to send a screener to New York or LA or whatever. Yeah. So it's already started to take off.
Obviously
it's been exciting.
That's obviously a good accomplishment.
Yeah, it is, to kind of have work in some of the major festivals. And this festival is considered, you know, it has a very good reputation overseas. It's probably one of the few queer film festivals in the Southern Hemisphere, actually, that has a good reputation. So, yeah, it's exciting to be part of it.
It's a choice. We all have choices to make. Now, if the gay society are part of our future and productive to our future, and they are producing better things in our future to come, great for them. Come, I'll be right there behind them. But if they're bringing chaos into our future, and there's a major dysfunction in their own mind, that they don't even know how to do it, and just walking around blaming the whole world for their confusion in their own mentally, because it's strictly mentally, then they're not going to really go far.
From a personal point of view, how did that affect you, hearing that come out from her mouth, the stuff that she was saying?
Yeah, she does have a lot of very sort of provocative things which she says in the documentary. And I had phone conversations with her in the lead up, trying to organise it, and she wasn't actually sure whether she would take part, and I sort of figured, well, my best chance here, and she mentioned, I can't remember how or why it came about, but she mentioned that she liked Australian actors. And so I just thought I would do the Hugh Jackman charismatic swashbuckling thing. So I go round to her house and I sort of said, you know, oh, g'day, it's Rowan from Australia, I'm making that film, and yeah, let's, can you sit down and answer some questions now? And I pretty much was role-playing. It was kind of a little bit exploitative in that sort of Borat sense of, you know, I was being a bit of a caricature in order to elicit the responses that I needed from her. I certainly didn't agree with anything she said. I didn't want to sort of be agreeing with anything that she said to sort of make her say anything else, but I did, it's a hard scenario to be in, and you sort of have to recognise that the film is about why people are intolerant about this, and arguably they have no reason to be intolerant about this, they just are, and it's illogical, and in order to get that point across, I need them to speak in an intolerant fashion, so I have to sort of stand there and suck it up and then treat myself to a G&T once I get back to the hotel room.
Why did you make the film in the first place?
I guess there's 2 points I'd like to make. The first is that transgendered people are often very misrepresented in films, narrative films or documentaries. It's often quite exploitative. You know, when you think about, for example, Jerry Springer and those types of shows, when transgender people are involved in that. But also, you know, transgender people are often serial killers and things in films. are some great portrayals of transgender people, but there's not a lot. And so I guess part of what I wanted to get across was that ultimately these women were real women. They were teachers, they went to work every day. The aspect of them being transgender, whilst very, important to their lives, didn't affect them going out into the community and doing what they did. The other thing I think which comes across in the film is that the only real people that have a problem with this are people who aren't actually involved firsthand. The people that have a problem with this are occasionally the parents of students, and certainly people who are far outside the school community, who are writing letters and doing press releases and, really getting their back up about this issue. When you ask students about it, it's not a concern at all. And in many ways, a lot of students perceive that, whilst it has no impact on their own gender identity, it is, such teachers are great role models insofar as, making a stand and being open about their lives and, meeting an issue head on. And I also hope that the film it sort of charts, a change, a shift of values and ideas. I mean, the first story of Deborah Davis, the transition happened very quickly and it was sort of under the radar, but from then on in, teachers who transitioned were subject to, a great deal of sort of political and media inquiry. And the final story is really a story of a teacher who is loved by her students and is a great teacher and has made a difference in a community. And it's a really positive story about people completely accepting and respecting someone who is transgender.
As I got down there to the Jacob Javits Center, I immediately said, I am here, I need to help, I want to do something. So they said, well, why don't you go work in the supply depot? It was like unbelievable, where you have this mass, all kinds of cultures and races, and in my case, a transgendered person working, and nobody cared. Nobody said anything to each other. And that was something that I took away with me, and it was wonderful, and at the same time it was extremely sad, because I knew that it wouldn't be too long after that people would go back to being people and being nasty and cruel and condescending and just unprogressive.
Well, congratulations on both films. Do you know when they're screening?
They're screening Saturday the 28th at 11:15 a.m. And I have been told from a little ticketing bird that it is best to actually book, because they do think that the sessions will sell out.
Go and see the films.
Go and see the film.
Now they're played at Federation Square.
At Federation Square, yes.
And it's just for that one night.
It's 11:15 a.m. So it's sort of like a pre-lunchtime session, and so it'll just screen once.
And what else is coming up for yourself?
What am I doing? I've got a couple of music videos lined up, which is sort of nice short-term turnaround, and I'm working on a script for a feature to shoot at the end of the year.
Awesome.
So yeah,
that sounds pretty exciting.
Hopefully that will come together.
Well, congratulations again on both the films, and hopefully they're a great success at the Melbourne Queer Film Festival. And good luck in the future. Pleasure, and thanks for coming along. And please go and check out Rowan's films, because they're amazing. Thank you. Welcome back to Studio Q with Joel and Mark. We're still talking about the Melbourne Queer Film Festival. Now, Mark and I had the opportunity before to actually watch the Oz Shorts package. There's about 6 little short films.
Six short films, and I thought maybe we'd do a bit of a Margaret and David, or David and Margaret, which I'm not sure which way it goes.
I think I'll be Margaret with my hair.
Right, and I'll be the old man.
Done, easy.
Right, and there were, I think, we were talking before, there was probably 3 of the films that had significance, and I guess the first one was Skin, which is about a man who basically gets his whole body tattooed and then wants to donate his skin to a museum.
I was 42 when I got the first little piece 43 when I got the second, and after that it just sort of continued for 15 years or so. I found that it was not possible to get my arms tattooed until after I retired from full-time work, and now that that's happened, that will be something that we'll be doing very shortly. I'm looking forward to eventually completing the suit. Why did I do it? Well, I don't exactly know, except I was always fascinated by people with tattoos. I just couldn't believe how fabulous I thought they were, the way they jumped about, and when the person moved, so did the tattoo. But nice boys coming from middle-class families didn't have tattoos, and so I didn't have any tattoos either. I went to school and university, and then I became employed as a teacher, and I didn't have any tattoos. But when I turned 40, I decided that this was about time I actually did something that I wanted to do with my life, and went and got the first little piece. They divide people almost immediately. People love them or hate them.
When he said that he was thinking of donating his skin to the National Gallery, I initially was a little concerned. I wasn't sure about the public health implications. And they actually said that his skin was his property and what he did with it was his business.
So, doing a Margaret and Roy, what would you give it out of 5?
Out of 5, I think the concept of somebody being able to do that to their body is very, very interesting, and him being in his early 40s when he started to begin tattoo, I'd probably give it about a 3.5. I thought to go that far with that and doing that to your own body, I found that to be very courageous of him to do that. So, yeah.
I'd probably even go as far as giving it a 4, because not that I agree with the plan of ripping off the skin, but just the content, that story that I've never seen before, and it does. Well, we sat down and talked about it before, right. So it does conjure up, conversation.
Definitely,
yeah,
definitely. It's well worth seeing, I think, for anybody who's interested not only in tattoos or art, but just in general. I think everyone should see that film. So yeah, it's a good film.
Now the next one we wanted to talk about was Love and the Space Between. Now, that had a particular
It did. It was. It's a story about a woman who loses her partner, and the partner is like a ghost type of overseeing her life. And there was a very interesting scene between two women having sex, and I found that the scene I found it to be very real, and I think that scenes sex scenes aren't shown to their real capacity in films, no matter whether they're short or feature or whatever. I think that they try and hide that, and I found that it's really struck a chord in me. Then the director's actually really gone out here on a limb, and it's paid off, especially in this film, and I found it quite courageous of those two women as well.
Do you think that made sense to the film?
I think it did.
A crucial part of the film?
I think it did, because I'm not going to give away the ending, but having that scene in there and allowing it to be real and feel real, made the story complete. So I thought it was a really, really good film. So. Yeah.
Okay, and your score out of 5?
I'd go probably about 3.5 to 4 on that one. Yeah. Okay. The lesbians will love it. They'll love this film.
They will. They will.
Go lesbians, see this film.
And I think I'll stick with you. I'll give it about a 3 and a 3.5. So. Yep. Now one more that we want to talk about, and this is very controversial for us. It's called Crisscross, and I'm amazed by that.
Blown away, and I don't know if we can actually hold up the photo, if you can see the photo of the person that was in the film. When I looked at this earlier on and hadn't seen the film, I thought this was a boy straight away, but it's not.
No, it's not.
Life's changed so much, because I know I'm still transitioning because I haven't had all the surgeries done, but like I still feel like I'm a guy, so I guess that's where I'm at. Just being a guy and being respected as that.
I think society is maybe a little bit more accepting, or you don't hear about such an outcry of a woman transitioning to a man, but I think with a man transitioning to a woman, it's still very taboo, and it's, you know, society look very down on something like that.
Maybe it's the thing of, if the woman is changing to a man, it's a very blokey thing, so
that's right.
Blokes will accept that sort of thing.
Yep.
So, you know,
it was very interesting to watch, like to watch this person, as her mother calls her Christy, but being a man, it's Chris. I did not look at her as him as a woman. Like,
yeah, I don't think I really even thought at any point that it was a woman.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
and what would you rate it?
5.
5. Me too. 5.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think it's a must-see film for everybody. I think it just opens it up for discussion.
It does.
And gives you a little bit more of a different perspective on because we don't get to see, like you said, the female to male type of...
People are now producing a lot more interesting, a lot more topical stuff that it really makes... how can you say? Does make for a lot more conversation. Definitely. Rather than just going to see a film that's, you know, you'd come out and say, oh, how was it? Oh, fine, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. You can be a little bit more, you can open up that conversation a little bit further, which is good. But the Ozshorts short films are on at Saturday the 21st of March at 3:15 and also Saturday the 28th of March at 5:15, and they're all playing at the Acme Theatre at... always confused Gasworks. No, it's not Gasworks. It's Federation Square.
Federation Square.
Federation Square. So, on behalf of Mark and myself, I've enjoyed watching
I've had
films,
a great time watching them too.
And I recommend that you go ahead and go and see them.
Yep, we'll see you there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Studio Q.
Bye.
For festival ticketing and information, go to www.mqff.com.au. Call Acme on 8663 2583 or Hares and Hyenas on 9495 6589.